What made the popular guy or girl lose their popularity? Story 1. She started a fight with another popular girl over something petty. The other popular girl, unbeknownst to us all, practiced a martial art and delivered with one hand the most beautiful, graceful punch that I have ever had the pleasure of seeing whilst pulling out a chunk of hair with the other. The other girl was suspended and skyrocketed higher than ever, while the popular girl who started the fight became little more than a laughing stock with a temporary bald spot. Story 2. Popular girl was driving drunk on the way to school and caused a pretty bad accident involving 3 other cars. She spilled liquor on herself and slammed on her brakes in a line of cars. Her car managed not to have a scratch. She swapped seats with her passenger in front of everyone before cops arrive. A few minutes later, we realized she has disappeared. She had slipped into another car that had stopped to see if everyone was okay. Several people ended up getting tickets and her passenger ended up getting a DUI. She was unpopular until graduation. Story 3. Way back when I was in school, a girl who was quite popular decided she could make fun of another kid's Down syndrome siblings in front of her friends. Well, the popular kids in my school weren't fools, so they didn't laugh and literally turned their backs on her. She was a loner for the rest of the year and went goth the next, then moved. It wasn't funny at the time, nor is it funny now. Just for clarification purposes, this was not on school grounds. We were at a park one night with a lot of kids hanging out when she did it. She tried to apologize to her friends for some reason, not the kid or his brother. That's when the other kids got in a car and left her alone standing there after telling her it wasn't funny and she should apologize to the kid and his brother, not them. I think this was just one thing in a long line of problems they had with her, and this just was the final one. So the school had no say in it, but yes, if it happened in school, she would have gotten in trouble for saying it. She also did very rude hand/arm gestures. Also, side note, when I say no one laughed, I mean no one. It was more like you could hear crickets, and the girl laughing until she realized it was only her. Story 4. Wouldn't say he was popular, as this was college, but everyone knew him and he was well liked. All around really friendly, the life of the party, and just a very open person. He stole money from a lot of people, and it was all at once. So it was a film school. We were on a project filing at a house. The bottom floor, which was just a room in the garage, is where people stored all their stuff, like book bags and equipment that was not currently being used. This guy went through everyone's stuff and stole any cash he could find. I lost only $5. Though when I got home that night and couldn't do laundry, I was a bit peeved. But some kids lost hundreds. There were people always coming and going in that space, and it was only the crew, so no one thought the stuff was unsafe down there. I was down there at some point just taking a snack break with another person and saw him going through bags. He made up some BS that he was looking for his friend's bag and her car keys. At the time I believed him and didn't think anything more of it till it came out that people were missing money. He was of course found out because I was not the only one who saw him rifling through stuff, and it turned out he was a serious D addict. I'm talking synthetic D addict. They found his stash when going through his dorm room. He was dismissed from the school, and that's the last I heard of him. Wonder what happened to him. Also never got my $5 back. Story 5. There was a new kid at our school that I'll call Alex for the purposes of this story. He was athletic, funny, good-looking, etc. He got in with the popular kids pretty quick, and got along with just about everybody, small-town school. There was a special needs kid in our grade that I'll call Josh. Everybody loved Josh like a little brother, and we were all very protective of him. One day about a week after Alex got to the school, he was teasing Josh out in the courtyard and Josh was getting really upset. A few kids told him to cut it out, and Alex got angry so he pushed Josh. He instantly was attacked by several of the nearby guys, and was getting the snot beaten out of him until the teachers got there. Alex was suspended for 2 weeks, and the guys attacking him were suspended for 1 week. When he got back, he was basically shunned. Nobody would talk to him unless it was school-related. During gym class, people would do whatever they could to exclude him. He switched schools after a few weeks of this. Looking back at it, his treatment was really harsh, but he deserved it in my eyes. Story 6. Here's my story. In 5th grade, we moved and I changed schools. I went from a school in the city where everyone got along and was friends to a school in the suburbs where I was introduced to popular and unpopular for the first time. As a fat, quiet kid, I was quickly deemed unpopular and took my fair share of abuse. Around March or April, my teacher moved our desks around and set up islands of 4 to 5 desks around the room, except for 2. The most popular boy in school who was a troublemaker in class and me who moved our desks right up next to the side of hers. I later found out she did this for two reasons. One, to keep an eye on him, and two, she felt I'd be a good influence on him. A funny thing happened. Between then and the end of school, we became best friends, and I became the second most popular kid in school. I started getting invited to birthday parties, kids stopped being crappy to me, I got invited to play football at lunch, girls liked me. It was amazing. Then, summer happened, we were in different classes the next year. He forgot about me, and he moved, and everyone went back to treating me like a dump. That's my little story about losing popularity. Story 7. This was around 1994. When I was in 6th grade, one of my classmates brought $90-ish to school. They were going to go shopping after school. She was the most popular girl in class. At some point during the course of the day, the money went missing. Our teacher went right to the superintendent's office, right across the hall from our class. This was a super small school where there were only 212 kids total from kindergarten to 12th grade. Within minutes, they had pulled us all out of class and separated out the boys and the girls. The 5th grade teacher took the girls into the bathroom 3 at a time and strip searched them, and the superintendent handled all of us boys. I didn't take the money, but got in a stall, locked it, and refused to come out. I had some serious skid marks going on that day, and no one on this earth needed to go rooting around in my underpants. He finally gave up and let me go. The cops showed up a few hours later and interviewed all of us one by one. A few weeks later, it got out that she forgot to bring the money to school, and it was home in her bedroom the whole time. Despite us being in a rural area and the next nearest school being 30 miles away, the backlash was bad enough that her parents pulled her out of school and sent her to the next town over. In retrospect, people mess up, and our anger at her was misplaced compared to the mountain of lawsuits that should have come down on the superintendent. Story 8. Guy wasn't exactly extremely popular to begin with, but was well known. He punched some girl at my school in the face for no reason at a concert. Shortly after this, there was news that he rolled his brand new Curio going 95 in a 45. This caused him and another guy at our school a lot of injuries. His friend lost his entire ear in the accident. Oh, and this was right after they stole beer from Kroger. They were drunk driving. Anyways, people kept their distance after this. Another kid that comes to mind was someone very popular in our grade. One of my friends went over to his house and used his computer without his permission. My friend ended up finding terabytes of non-suitable stuff on his PC. From what I heard, the FBI even got involved. He never was seen at school again after that. Story 9. I was somewhat part of that crowd in God. Was there a lot of drama? One of the girls got shunned by practically our whole grade after it was revealed that she made love with the boyfriend of this other really well-liked girl. She got lots of judgment about it, though somehow the guy got away with it without much issue. I almost felt bad for her. But then I didn't, because the year before she made the Spanish teacher cry by being so rude, and later in the year she was caught cheating in bio and pressuring this really smart girl to give her the answers. She wasn't exactly a good person. Story 10. He was in my grade. We were seniors, and it was the last few days of school. Him and some of his buddies, who were also popular but not nearly as much, decided to vandalize the school. At night, they spray swear words and stuff all over the outside of the place. They also sprayed the words "could have done worse" on the big entryway doors in the front. Well, they got caught. Their punishment: none of them graduated. They all had to repeat the year. Everyone thought they were idiots after that. According to one of my friends who was a grade younger, many people would say "could have done better" to them in passing. Story 11. Nothing that dramatic, but they graduated high school. Then they became a literal nobody. There was this kid named Matt who spent all of grades 1 to 12 riding his older brother's fame. His older bro was very charismatic and proactive, big into sports, the student council president, valedictorian, highest grades, you name it. Matt just walked in as the little bro and got all the attention and popularity from teachers and students because of who his brother was. It hit him hard when he went to the local university and realized that nobody knew him or paid him any attention. In June, he graduated high school as the valedictorian and had a massive amount of awards and scholarships. By the end of September, only 3 weeks into university, I saw him in a biology class. Your typical first-year general bio class that every program seemed to need. He was one of 500 students in a massive auditorium, sitting in the back. I noticed him because he was there with a friend, randomly shouting out comments and funny one-liners to try and mock the professor. The kind of things that might have had people giggle and comment about, "You're so cool," "You're so funny." In grade school, well, that didn't fly here. Instead of attention, all he got were nasty glares and being ignored by everyone. His entire world crumbled. He went through literal withdrawal from the lack of attention and popularity. Less than 6 weeks into university, he dropped out. My friends and I ran into him at a bowling alley a few years later. He was unrecognizable. From being thin and athletic, he looked like he put on 50 pounds and had a massive beer gut, scruffy beard, and married with 2 kids, each with different mothers. He had the whole world in the palm of his hand, and then reality smacked the life out of him. Story 12. A girl in my hometown was always picking on this guy in her class, making fun of his last name, picking on his mom and his little brother. Nothing physically. I think people just thought it was a bit of ribbing. Nothing so bad anyone felt the need to intervene. Then, one day, his family was in a car accident, and he was the only one to survive. When he came back to school, she said something like, "Couldn't even get dying right." Insert name she used to pick on him. It was so bad after that she switched schools, but her reputation followed her. She tried rushing a sorority in college, but wouldn't you know, the story followed her there too. Story 13. This is actually kind of sad, but the guy I knew was declared Athlete of the Century at our school. He was amazing at football, track, rugby, and wrestling. Didn't play hockey though, which was big where I am. But everyone loved this guy because he almost single-handedly won us provincial championships. I hate to bring this into it, but he was also one of 2 black kids at our school, so he had to really break through some prejudices by some of the people there, as it's a small rural community. But then he suffered a gruesome leg injury that ended his career. So when he stopped playing sports, people sort of forgot about him. This was 12 years ago, and I actually saw him a few months back. He's doing well. I'm 2 years younger, and he was always nice to me. To make it even sadder, last year his brother, another great athlete, took his own life. He didn't go to our school though, and I didn't know him. Story 14. She was a bit of a bee, pretty as a picture, but dim as a dark room. Once people saw how she really was as a person. For instance, using her looks to get what she wanted and throwing a hissy fit, once she didn't get it, caused people to lose interest real quick. I actually met her about a decade after we graduated, and she was a completely different person. Really humble and gentle. Actually a lot more clever than she appeared. No idea what she's doing now. Story 15. He was a new kid, but due to his looks, parents' wealth, and sports aptitude, he quickly became popular. Then he made the mistake of bullying a harmless kid who was on the spectrum, and was basically the football team's lucky charm. They did not take kindly to that, and he went from being the next big thing to being that kid no one wanted to talk to, and he had to basically bribe people to keep them around. Story 16. Tall, good-looking, foreign exchange student showed up one year with a killer smile and some impressive soccer skills. Never thought I'd see schoolgirls giggle and follow around boys in a crowd like they do in TV shows, but this guy made it happen. He abruptly stopped showing up one day after a few months. Don't know 100% what happened, but the rumor was that he got sent back for putting some pretty serious racist symbols in a poetry/art project, thinking it would be a funny joke. Story 17. In high school, she was good at singing, so people became jealous of her. They'd say, "Sing for us, Christina." And if she sang, they'd say, "Look at her showing off," singing in the school hallways. And if she didn't sing, they'd say, "Look at her stuck-up bum. She thinks she's too good to sing for us." So eventually, I think she got tutored her senior year and beyond. Oh, her last name was Aguilera. Story 18. He was popular among the group of people he was associated with. I don't think he was super popular or anything. Punk/grunge kid. All this popularity went out the window when he went out the window of his car, after he crashed it into a building because he was huffing paint and speeding down the road with one of the group's popular girls. Thankfully, she survived, but from what I recall, he wasn't remembered so fondly after that. Story 19. She gated me. We were both in speech and debate, both did impromptu. We spent a ton of time giving each other practice topics, and it devolved to funny crap we just wanted to see the other spitball a 5-minute speech on. Dated for 2.5 days until her popular friends found out. She dumped me on the spot, but the damage to her credibility had been done. Thing is though, she then lost all of her nerdy friends too because she dumped me. It was a lose-lose situation for her. Story 20. I went to the same school as the kids of the Prime Minister of my country at the time. I didn't know the daughter too well, but apparently she went from being popular to being bullied out of the school when her dad lost the election. It was pretty sad that people started hating her for something she had no control over. That's a wrap for this video. Make sure to leave your relatable story down in the comments. I would love to make a video on them. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.